going to be joining us. I think you can see his little
Oh, he's right there.
Yeah. It's okay. Michelle Catchwayne said, "Hi, everybody."
Hello, everyone.
We are live. No more small talk.
Welcome to Wine, Women, and Words. I'm Michelle. And with me, of course, is Diana.
Hello.
And this evening, we are joined by author Laurie Finkelstein. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Laurie.
It's an absolute pleasure. Happy to be here. Warm and cozy in my house.
Yes, it's an important thing this week in California. We are so cold and we don't know how to handle it.
No, it's like 43 degrees outside, and to me that means like, well, I have the fireplace on and candles, anything to make it feel like it might be warm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's 47 and where I'm at.
Wow.
And that's just way too cold. My poor tortoise he hasn't been allowed outside for like a week. And he's going stir crazy, but we can't put him outside because it's too cold.
Oh,
poor little guy will freeze to death.
That's actually not cold for us, but that's chilly. That's a winter day.
And we're gonna get frost.
It snowed in Las Vegas today or yesterday.
And in LA. We got snow here too.
Yeah.
Briefly in the morning. Yep. It was in Orange County. Some spots of Orange County got snow as well.
And my friend out in Arizona, TC, she has a snow day tomorrow. They
fun.
The lucky bomb. I love snow days. That's the one downside of California is that we don't get snow days. Which, I mean, really, when it comes down to it, how much of a downside is that?
You know, I still am like in the California mentality when it comes to bad weather, where I'll think, oh, it's cold out. Are they still going to have that? Are they canceling it? And everyone is, oh yeah, no, it's still happening. It's cold. I haven't fully transitioned into the Midwestern mentality in that respect.
No, by the time you transition into that Midwestern mentality, it'll be time for Rich to get a new duty station and you'll move somewhere else.
I know.
Someplace warm, hopefully.
I know we're probably going to be heading further east. So, I mean, unless we get Florida, and I don't necessarily
alligators. I think I would be more worried about alligators than I would be about hurricanes.
That is so true.
Yeah.
Yes. My husband is in Florida right now. I'm in my cozy house by myself celebrating silence.
So, well, actually, I see the wine glass, so that is a great opportunity. Diana, you are carrying the team tonight because I'm not feeling well and I didn't want to drink wine.
This is why you switch to whiskey when you're sick.
I don't have
tequila.
Yeah, or tequila. Yeah. There you go.
I drink not by myself, but we finished the tequila at our last game night with some girls in the neighborhood. We had margaritas. It was fun.
Oh, okay. Understandable. Okay, that's acceptable. All right, well, since I'm drinking for two, I'm still working on my cherry blossom Pinot Noir that I started last week. And yeah, it's really good. It tastes like a glass full of cherries. It's got a very strong cherry flavor, and I'm really digging it. It's almost like that really light chocolate-covered cherry kind of taste.
Very nice.
What are you drinking, Laurie?
Well, I chose a local wine today from Pucella Winery. It's called Awakening. It's a red blend of Tanit and Petite Syrah. So it's full-bodied, really smooth, a lot of pepper and currants and good stuff.
I love a good Petite Syrah. That's one of my go-to reds.
It's a good one.
And I love that it's a local winery, supporting local wineries.
It is. They actually do I don't know what it's exactly called. Is it vintnering? They produce their wine here in Santa Clarita, California, but they source their grapes in Paso Robles, which is further north and more inland.
Okay. Okay.
So it's really, and they have great pickup parties. So we're members. They have a great tasting room, not too far from our home. So,
Oh, neat.
Oh, that's awesome.
always support the locals.
Absolutely. And with our sponsor Wink, even though neither of us are drinking Wink wines tonight, they do they support the locals too, really, when it comes down to it, because they have California wines and California produced wineries, and they do a lot of events and stuff in California as well. So if you guys who are listening want to try to get in on that, go to trywink.com/WWW podcast and you get $22 off your first order.
That sounds great to me.
Yes, Wink. Yeah.
So this evening, my cat is like sprawled across the dining room table right now. And how cats have the superior smug expression where they look at you like, am I not supposed to be here? That's
prove me wrong.
So we are here tonight to talk about your book, Next Therapist, Please, which I started reading last night and kept reading this afternoon, or today and this afternoon. And one thing I just have to point out is I think it was maybe the third or fourth chapter when she got home from Palm Springs after her art show. And she's describing where she lived, and she mentioned the Balboa Fun Zone. Yes. My first real boyfriend worked at the Fun Zone.
How exciting!
And he did the trampoline, the bungee trampoline where you can do flips. He worked that, and I was like, oh my god, that was my first date was to that trampoline.
That's a really, really great memory, and it's such a fun, unique area in Southern California. I used to visit as a child. We would go, especially around the holidays. All the houses would decorate really beautifully, and then they had boat decorations that would do a parade around the island and the peninsula. It's just a great place to be. So that setting was. It just had to be in my debut novel. It just had to be Balboa Island. I had to work it in there somehow.
I love it, and so much of the book itself it's all centered pretty much. It's California. It's very much a California book.
Yes, it is. I can't put my wine down because my cat's in the way.
Well, then I guess you don't get to put the wine down.
Yeah, I know. I almost spelled it. Wait, I have to put this down. I can't keep holding it.
What a good cat mom that you're working around the cat and not just pushing the cat out of the way.
That would be so rude of me.
That is true pet love right there.
Yeah, he's right there.
Oh, he's so cute.
He's so happy. Yes.
I love reading about stories that are set somewhere that I know. And when you describe the settings, it's almost like going home for a while when you recognize the freeways, or even being in the Palm Springs at the opening of the novel. I've been to Palm Springs a few times. So I
love Palm Springs. Yeah.
It's a wonderful place to hang out.
Mm-hmm.
It's so fun. But it was nice to go home for a little while. And, that totally just brightened my, 20-degree day.
Here.
So this book is based on your experiences.
It is. Now, Janie in the book has lived with anxiety and depression and OCD her entire life, and that's been my life. I have experienced that since I was a little girl, and so Janie incorporates the way my mental illness manifests itself, and so it's kind of a mirror image of how my anxiety produces outcomes, or my OCD. And then each of the therapists that Janie sees are based on, inspired by my actual 6 therapists that are in that book. So it's very true to life. It's an interesting look at mental illness and therapy in that in this particular instance, Janie wasn't always helped, very little by her actual therapist, which was my experience through those many years. If I was to continue on and write a sequel, Janie would definitely see a more effective therapist and move on to a different level in her life. So that's kind of interesting.
It absolutely is, and that's one of the things that I love about this book and your books in general, because I know you've got a second one coming out, which we can discuss here in a little bit, give people a preview of it, is that you're not afraid to shy away from those subjects that were traditionally labeled as taboo, per se. And, you know, mental illness for the longest time in this country has been considered taboo. And we don't get to talk about it, and it doesn't get treated like an actual disease or actual regular illness, because you don't tell somebody who's got the flu, oh, just go out and get some sunshine, you'll be fine, get over it.
Get over it.
Yeah, you just need more vitamin D, you'll be fine. Meanwhile, you're dying from the flu and you need actual medication, and the brain is an organ just like anything else, and we need to be treating it that way. And so I love books like this that, you know, normalizes mental illness, that we can open up and have discussions about it. And I love how with I'm suddenly having a brain fire on Janie. Thank you. With Janie's character, that, you know, one of the things that you get to explore in the book is the role the therapists have, because you just assume that every therapist is going to be a good therapist. You get into therapy, everything should be fine. And I love that you're showing that other side of it.
Yeah, I think my experience probably mimics more generally what is experienced out there. I think there are very few really good there are a lot of really good therapists out there, but there are so many more that really aren't equipped to help. And I had a whole bunch of those. And unfortunately, so does Janie. But she does find a place in her life where she's moved on, as I did in my life. But I've even gone, like right now I'm on therapist number 7. And she's amazing. She's the first one that's able to we've been doing cognitive behavior therapy, CBT, and it's the first time that what she's saying actually makes sense, and I can put it into a practical application. And so it's working.
Oh, good.
It's like making a difference. Like, oh, okay, this is how I need to reframe my thinking. It's very interesting. It's wonderful. So I hope Janie in her future does find a therapist like mine.
Yes, I hope so.
And other people out there, you know, people should know that this is the important thing to take away from it. If you're not growing, if you're not resolving issues with your therapist, it's probably not the right therapist for you. Move on. Don't waste years in therapy that is not helping. I think it's easy to fall into that. You know, you get your health plan, you get your therapist, and you go every week, and you're spinning wheels. So I say, don't stay in those relationships. Get out and find somebody that you can actually work with and make progress. And I like that people reading this, it does give them hope. And certainly people that don't know what it's like to live with a mental illness, well, they're getting a little sneak preview into it, and the humor and the foibles that come along with it. Because none of us, no matter what we're going through, should take our situations too seriously. Life is too short to be painful.
Exactly. And I mean, I love something that talks about dealing and working with therapists and talking with therapists, because there's nothing wrong with going to a therapist, whether it's long term or short term, because I've done therapy off and on over the years, and it's been, for me, it's worked to do short term, working out very, very hard situations. Sometimes you just need to do long term. And so, yeah, I love that it goes that way.
Well, that's great.
Just had a question and it just flew right out of my head. Oh, I was going to say this is not a question. It was more of an observation. But it was really interesting for me to kind of see into Janie's mind when she, is flashing back to therapist number one, how, one illness or one factor kind of like fed into another, where she didn't even realize that anxiety is triggering these rituals that help, ease her anxiety, but the rituals are turning into OCD, and they're starting to control her life without her realizing it. And it was really eye-opening to read into a character's
thought process. Yeah, how mental illness actually manifests itself and causes, now OCD most people associate with washing hands and rituals of that sort. Mine were based on my anxiety. So if I had a fear about something, very irrational, like going to the supermarket, and I talk, Janie has experiences where she needs to go to the market and is dealing with these anxieties, and what happens is she needs to work out in her mind every possible detail and what if, and have a resolve for it before she goes out of the house to do her shopping. And that takes hours and it's exhausting. But that's how her and my OCD presents itself before it was managed with medication, where I would just have I would have to work out, if I was going to a gas station, what entrance, what driveway I was going to go into, what pump I was going to be at. What if I couldn't be at that pump? It was maddening. And unfortunately, a lot of people are living that way without the help of either therapy and or medication. So,
well, yeah, and with OCD, you don't realize that that's something that can manifest in that way, because you do think of the stereotype that you see in media of, okay, it's somebody who washes their hands to the point that they become raw. The person who has the germaphobe OCD. You don't think about those things of working out every single possibility before going to the market. Those things we don't think about and we don't see. And that goes back to how I love you in the book, because you don't shy away from that.
Yes.
When did you decide that you wanted to translate your personal experience into this story for other people to connect with?
It started as a way, I had so many experiences that were difficult and troubling, and I needed to get out of my system. I needed to package it up and put it in a package and deliver it someplace and be done with it. And so I wrote vignettes, instances, stories, events, and that was a form of therapy for me in processing what I had gone through so many years with my own mental illness, and then also raising a special needs son, which is doubly difficult when you can barely manage your own mental health. And so after I had all these little vignettes written, I thought, well, the humor, and I do use humor a lot, the humor started coming out, and I thought, well, this is interesting because other people might be able to relate to this. I didn't want to do a memoir at all. And I love romantic comedy. So, of course, I said, yes, let's take this tragic comedy thing going on here, turn it into a romantic comedy, give it a happy ending, and show mental illness as as how it is for some person in daily life.
It's very Crazy Ex-Girlfriend-esque. I love that show, and I love, it's very similar to, if you like that television show, you'll like this book, because there's that similarity, that romantic comedy, and that frankness when it comes to talking about mental illness, and having a leading woman who's not afraid to discuss it and go through that journey. And you get to go through that journey with her on her own. And I don't know if anybody, hotshot producers listening, but I mean, Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, it's on their final season. It did really well. Next Therapist, Please already has a great setup.
I'm all for that.
So what was the experience for you? You said that it was therapy for you to go ahead and do this. Can you delve into a little bit of that? How was it a cathartic practice? Were there some parts that were harder for you to go through again? Or was it easier because you were putting it into Janie?
It was easy because I put it into another character, and by creating a fictional character, it distanced itself from me enough I could separate it and look at it objectively for what it was, and that enabled me to present it without sugarcoating anything, but and keep it realistic, and then through that. And reading it, I now look back at all those instances with a little bit of nostalgia and fondness. What happened through that process is I took the sting out of it, and so now I can look back and think, well, that was an interesting experience that went terribly awry, but look where we got because of it. And look where we've come, and we made it through, and we're just as happy and healthy and moving on in our lives. And you know what? Life is a roller coaster, and we have lots of ups and downs, each and every one of us. So, different ways, but we all experience that roller coaster. And, when things are going well, I know that it won't go well for much longer before we go down again. But then I know that once we're down, it'll go back up. So it's important to know that cycle and understand it and respect it and say, okay, yeah, there are going to be hard times ahead. However, we know that we can rise above it.
Well, I love that. And I think books like this help people who have no experience with mental illness, who don't have it themselves, who don't have friends or family. I think it also helps them gain a greater appreciation for how hard people work to either overcome it or manage it to a point where it's not running their lives. They're running their lives, and that's just a part of it.
Exactly. It is just one small part of each person who deals with mental illness. It's just one component of who that person is. And we need to look at people as a whole and not look at people and define them by their abilities or disabilities or mental health state. That unfortunately is something that we need to work really hard on eliminating. And I lost my thought.
And it's always best done with laughter and honesty. Those are the two best things when it comes to it.
Well,
eliminating the stereotype.
Yes, but I would like to say, okay, so this is exciting. With Next Therapist, Please, I do donate 10% of the proceeds to NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness. And I like to talk about them because they have been my go-to resource. And for anybody in the beginning dealing with mental illness, or maybe you've dealt with it for years,
Or family members, if you have family members with mental illness. I'm very familiar with NAMI. I did not realize that part of the proceeds go to them. That is fantastic. So it's even more incentive for people to go and buy the book. And so, yes, I'm sorry, I cut you off. Tell us more about, those who don't know about NAMI, tell us more about NAMI, N-A-M-I.
Yeah, National Alliance on Mental Illness. And they have chapters in every state and almost every city. Los Angeles, greater Los Angeles area has many, many chapters as across the United States. Their services are free. They have peer counseling. They have family counseling. They have classes where you can learn if you have a loved one who is experiencing mental illness. They have classes where, as a family member, you learn how to help this person because the systems are very, very difficult to navigate. And their support, they support in many, many ways. And I am a member. I just renewed my membership, and then I donate 10% of the sales to them, and it's my way of giving back to them because they helped me with my own mental illness, and even more importantly, they helped me with raising my son, which was even more challenging than dealing with my own. So they're my heroes, and I like to talk about them whenever I can.
Yes, they're a great organization. I highly recommend people check them out. If you need help, if you want to give, donate, you can donate directly. You could buy the book and get percentage to them. All sorts of ways. They're one of those charities and organizations that I really love to champion too whenever possible. So I'm so glad you brought that up. I love it. Yes. And then since we only have a little while left, do you want to talk about your next book at all?
Yes, it's very exciting.
I can't wait for your next book. Your next book sounds like a hoot.
It
I
is.
had to throw that in.
It's literally a hoot. And a hoot is an acronym for a higher order of thinking. And this is a senior's experience with medical marijuana. And it is every marijuana, what every marijuana user should know, or every marijuana virgin should know before they light up. So this is basically a how-to book. It chronicles my experiences experimenting with different ways and dealing with different facts of aging, and how cannabis has helped me with my insomnia, with my anxiety, with my depression, with all sorts of things. So this is a basic guide because I think people should be informed. If you're going to light up, you should know what you're using and what it does, and how to manage your dosing, and to have a good experience, as opposed to just, eating a pan of brownies and falling over. So I'm really, it's a nonfiction humor gift book. It will have illustrations, and it chronicles my experiences while high doing housework, or I have chapters on health and beauty and how cannabis has helped me in that area. Okay. And I have how many stoners does it take to do blah, blah, blah. So it's a how-to, and it's a fun example of what it's like as an older person experimenting with the ways of pot.
Well, I think even for those who are younger who want to experiment with it and get into it, I think it would be, a good idea and a good option to go and look at, simply because it's, you don't know. You hear all these different things. You have the people on the pro side that are all about it, and then you have the people who are in the very anti side about it. And more states, it's becoming legal in more states, and soon it's going to be legal nationwide. So you're going to have you need to research on this stuff. And
exactly. And because the THC, the plants are so much stronger today than they were when a lot of us baby boomers were growing up, that dosing is a very important issue to know about before you start. If you, like I said, if you want to have a good experience, or if you're trying to eliminate a specific chronic situation, there's ways of doing it to get the best effects. And I'm always doing research, and I'm always trying different methods of consumption. It's going to be entertaining and educational.
I love it. And yeah, I mean, you've got to have that kind of basics. It's good to research on it.
It is, and it's good to get some truth, because there's a lot of misinformation, and and I like to dispel a lot of it and take a lot of the doomsday kind of attitude that so many people have. Like, no, it's reefer madness all over again. No, it's not. This is a beneficial item if used properly.
Yes, you're not going to turn into Cheech and Chong overnight. If you use it properly. But man, I could totally rock one of their mustaches. I'm not going to lie.
That sounds wonderful.
That's spoken like a friend who's like, I'm not sure how to respond to that.
I say go for it. Sure.
I just have to skip my wax list a few months in a row. It'll be fine. My husband, he'll get over it.
Well, I know we are just about at our time, but thank you so much for coming out. I know we had some technical difficulties before we came on, and I'm glad we got them sorted out so you could come on and talk with us, because we had so much fun.
It's been a wonderful time. I love listening to your podcast. I'm thrilled to be on one, and look forward to hearing more about the books you gals are reading and the wine you are drinking.
Yes,
so thank you.
Now, we are doing a half-hour episode tonight just because we're doing a brunch episode for our book of the month on Saturday. 2 days from now, Saturday.
Yes. So we are going to save all of our Kingdom of Copper discussion for then. Because we're going to have Shan on the show, and we are just going to bombard her with questions. And if you guys have questions beforehand, email us, message us on social media, let us know, and we'll be more than happy to share those questions with Shannon when she comes on the show.
Absolutely. So thank you so much, Laurie. We had such a good time with you.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Diana. It's been wonderful. See you around the globe.
Yes, we will be seeing each other. I know you and I run into each other at events all the time.
Yes, we do, and it's always a blast.
It is. You're one of my event buddies.
Likewise. Thank you.
Yes.
Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.